So, good evening, friends. Let's start this session. For India, it's about to have good evening, and for USA, it's a very pleasant early morning. On behalf of Marwadi University, I would like to welcome Hitesh Patel on this webinar on security for the cloud. Uh, so it is very difficult to for anybody of us to wake up very early in the morning and get ready to address. But of course, for the different time zone, somehow we have to adjust. In this case, you have adjusted for us. So very big thanks to you with this. We are in
Think
very
no
much
problem.
comfort zone right now at 4:30 with very ease. However, our students are learning online since morning, and even though they are present here, so that is also I would like to appreciate them as well. So, welcome Hitesh Patel. He is head of cyber cloud and digital platform audit and risk, Fidelity Investment, Boston, USA. Uh, I have shared your link to our students, and they have visited your LinkedIn in very detail. But
Yeah.
usually, what we do when we call any expert, we would like to have their journey sharing by their own words. So I'll not take much time to introduce you. I wish you should introduce yourself.
જોરદાર
Only one
ઓપ્શન
thing,
Sure.
મળતું ને એટલે
only one
કીધું
thing that
સ્ક્રીનિંગ
I could
લિમિટેડ
remember
ક્યાં
is
જોવા છે બીજા થાય નહીં.
so. Please mute your mic.
અહીં
Anybody?
તો તમે બગાડ નાખ્યું એ બોલો કે આમાં તું
Mute your
પ્રવાસમાં
mic.
ટેવાઈ ગયો ને એટલે
Yeah.
Hello. Okay. So he is unknown. His mic is not good. So
No.
welcome Hitesh. We were studied together in 11, 12 science during 91, 92. Then after, due to this Corona situation, we again able to
That.
call meet again. And thanks Hitesh to accept our invitation and you are being here. So even I would like to know your journey. I am also not that much aware with. So along with student, it is a good session for me as well. So it's over to you, Hitesh.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks everybody. Learning online is a challenge itself, and then accommodating me at the end of the day it's truly truly a respect. So I thank you everybody. Thanks CP for your kind words. If okay, I will share my screen. That way, I can go through a couple of the slides and also start my journey through there. Right?
Yes, yes. I am just stopping my presentation. So
Yep.
yeah, you can do now.
Okay. Are you guys able to see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Perfect. All right. As CP mentioned, and I hope you're okay. I mentioned you as a CP, right? This is our reference from back in the days. Professor CP, I should say. I will start my journey, and I'll block it into the four sections, right? My life journey, educational journey, professional journey, and the things that I have learned throughout my journey. So about me, about my life, I obviously like everybody has their own life journey. I started my life journey out of a small village in Gujarat near to Godhra. If you've heard about Dakor, it's pretty close to that. It's a small village next to that. And then life doesn't always treat you the way you want. And then I'm no different. So I also had my own fair share of hiccups in the life. I lost my dad when I was 2 year old, and my mom supported me through my education, and my older brother and my sister with having three buffaloes and a sewing machine. Now, I mean, this is not about how the journey started. This is more about tells us that it's not always you get everything you want, but that when you have your humble starting, this is the starting, right? And after that, my journey started with the grace of God. I had pretty good educational support, intellectual support from the family, and over the time, I progressed in my high school, all the way up to high school. I had been very fortunate after 10th grade to be part of an APC family. It's called Akshar Purushottam Chhatralaya family. Until 10th grade, I wasn't aware of anything. But when after 10th grade, I had nowhere to go because of the financial constraints. And then I had no way to support my education anything further. But we all know there are very, very good, organizations in India. BAPS is one of that organization that picked me up from my 10th grade onwards, all the way for my education, right? In 11th, 10th grade, as well as my engineering back from DDIT Naryad. Now, this is my life journey. This is where I say, there are always good things happens to everybody. We just have to look for it, and these are the good things, right? Non-profit organizations are always there for people like me who needs the support. This is my life journey all the way up to the high school and college. And obviously, as I mentioned, in switching towards the education side, I finished my engineering degree from DDIT Naryad. I started a little bit my journey after I DDIT in SR Steel Hajira, Surat. But I had this desire to gain more knowledge, desire to do more, learn more. And with but again, when I met with the financial constraints, I was always challenged, like, how would I do it? But thanks to, again, the same organization who not only financially supported me, but also helped me prepare mentally that the life is not about doing a short change. Life is all about continue to learn and support and learn and support everybody, right? So I started my journey out of the Hajira Surat, back into the education. I came to United States as a student here. I did my master's in information systems. Now I did my engineering in chemical engineering, but I will tell you later why I switched it to the information systems. I came for I will touch upon here right here. So I came here to do my MBA. And then when I came here to MBA, everybody around me were learning computers, and I said, "Wow, this is something unique, and I probably want to go more into this." And as part of my MBA, I had a dual major and ended up becoming an information systems master's with MBA. And in that journey, when I was doing my master's in information systems, I ended up writing the master thesis on session entropy. Now, I will get into that a little bit later, and that was a big deal back in 97, 97, 98, because there was no, there was just a browser at that time. And if people, any of you know it, that browser was just Netscape browser, and information, IE Explorer was just like starting. So and there was no session management in it. Like, you have a website, that's it. There's no session management. But exploring that area to further navigate what is potential threat of looking for the next session, or how do I take over somebody's account or session, was my master thesis. And that started my career completely from chemical engineering to information system to information security, which we call now cybersecurity. And that's my profession actually started from there. Since I ended up writing a session entropy, and we did an attack simulation on a website called Amazon.com. Back then, it was only selling books. It wasn't the big deal like Amazon right now. And we predicted we were successfully able to predict the next sessions that was coming assigned to the next user. So that started my cybersecurity career. I was hired on one world largest mutual fund company at Vanguard Group. I worked there for 7 years as a security developer and then ethical hacker. Um, and from ethical hacker, my portfolio further grew after 7 years at Vanguard. I was hired at JP Morgan to perform the risk management oversight for the credit card services. Chase, anybody who has any knowledge about the card portfolio, credit card portfolio in the United States, JP Morgan Chase has 60% of the credit cards in the United States. So talk, give or take 40 million credit cards out there, active credit cards out there are from JP Morgan. And I was hired to manage the risk management of it, cyber side of the world, cybersecurity side of the world, risk management for that business. That, my career continued to grow from there. From there, I was hired by Citibank. After 7 years at JP Morgan, I had my own fair share of learning and own fair share of hiccups and whatnot. I grew from there and then I was hired at Citibank to run their center of excellence, cybersecurity center of excellence for their audit department. Citibank's audit department is the world's largest audit department for any financial industry, any financial services company. And obviously, when you have a large portfolio, large oversight, you cannot do alone, right? You always need some help. And I mean, I learned very quickly early in my career that this is not about me. This is about the team. This is about partner collaborating. The world had, especially in the cybersecurity world, the world has become so complex that not a one person is knowledgeable about everything. Not one person can solve everything. Not one person can innovate anything, right? So jumping on my last section of that's this slide is the lessons learned. What did I learn through my journey? Educational journey, professional journey, general things in life as well. I today will give you a little context, right? You might be hearing like world is moving toward automation, world is moving very fast, a lot of things are getting automated, a lot of people will be out of job or will not have a job, robots will be doing those jobs and whatnot. And there is some truth to that. So I don't want to discourage you, but I will tell you, right, sometimes opportunity, how can we turn the challenges into your own opportunity is also our advantage. Humans has a basic advantage over anything, and that's called curiosity. That's my lesson learned, right? As long as human is curious, human will make progress. The day you stop being a curious, you are walking dead. I am sorry to use these words, but this is my life lessons learned, right? The day we stop becoming curious, we will not make progress. And that's the day we will be, basically a walking robots. And that's where the intelligent human designed robots will take over. The day you stop curious, become a curious, the day you stop being a curious, that day is basically your downhill will start, right? I will stop here. That's the lesson I have learned here, but that's about me. Anything, Professor, you want to ask anything specific about me? I guess I covered a higher level of everything.
Yeah, really, you have covered very good things. It covers a lot of things, but can you take any one moment,
Mm-hmm.
like your some learning habit in graduation time, which still going to be a strong point for your life and career?
Yes. So as I mentioned in my lessons learned, being a curious, right? Uh, I truly believe the economy, the world economy in general, right, has moved from a product delivery economy to a knowledge economy. And I apply a economic principle on my life. If human, and we all heard this word called human resource, right? So generally speaking, any corporate world or business world see the humans as a human resource. They want human and their skill and their talent to apply to their business to get the competitive advantage. So if I am a human resource, basically, in other words, if I'm a commodity, then I want to apply an economic principle. And what do I mean by that? What that means, in economy, basic economy, there is two sides. There is a supply side and there is a demand side. And if you are part of the supply side, right, your value is less. If you are on the demand side, your value is very high. So when I apply this economic principle to a human resource, which I am a resource to somebody, right? How do I make sure my value is higher than in general, right? And the best way to do it is stay curious, continue to learn, continue to develop, right? I am not perfect. I will not be perfect anytime soon. And I only want to continue to invest in myself so anybody else can believe in me, and will invest in me as well. If the day I stop investing in myself, nobody will believe in me, nobody will invest in me. And that's the principle I live by, and that's the principle is pushing me to continue to do more and more, continue to learn more and more, and I want to be a student for the life.
Excellent. So whatever you actually are focusing on, that is one of our graduate attributes. Expecting from graduate is called lifelong learner. And
Yep.
it has been practiced, like our university is taking the reference of Washington Accord, and we are going to map our subject, and we are going to keep certain assignments which help us student to keep learning over the period of time. And you have very nicely covered that point. I'm very happy to see this, and these are the students of present day technologies, and which are going to be, over every day it is going to be changed. Every time it is going to be enhanced, improved, upgrade. So
Yep.
it is very, very important and very valid point you highlighted here.
Thank you.
Thank you for this particular focused point on lifelong learning ability or attributes. Please carry on.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's jump on it. I know I personally have to stop at 8:10, but I will jump on the topic of the day today, right? Topic of the day today is cloud security awareness. And I want to take you to a journey of this whole presentation, and I will touch upon a couple of the stories in between. And anybody who is entering into the corporate world or business world, right? You all hear it like cloud and cyber and cloud and cyber and whatnot, right? I am fortunate to see that world today, but I would take you through the world journey of cloud security. And before that, I will touch upon the cloud and its own models and attributes, and then jump right into the security. Right, so let's start with the basic model. This is available through available through the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST organization, which is a government organization in United States, just to visually model what is the cloud and what are different type of deployment models, what are different type of delivery models, and what are the essential characteristics. Because everybody wants to use word cloud, right? But what is the cloud, right? So let's just let's just go top down, right? Anything it does not meet these high level criteria is not cloud. You might want to call the cloud, but it is not. If the platform that does not have a broad network access, or cloud network that cannot rapidly elastically go up or down, or if you cannot measure what did you use in the cloud, and if you cannot spin up or spin down any services in the cloud, you might want to call the cloud, but it is not the cloud then, right? It has to meet these basic criteria according to this is government organization, but led by non-governmental bodies, right? They came up with these attributes. These characteristics are the characteristics that you want to look at it. If it is not meeting these characteristics, it is no way to say it is a cloud. On top of it, the underlying platform to enable all these characteristics is the resource pooling. If you cannot share the resource across the entire cloud network or the cloud platform, that is not a cloud. So these are the basic criteria. These are the basic characteristics that you are looking for. When somebody says we are a cloud provider, then look for these things. Do they have these things? If not, then they are just faking the cloud. It's not true cloud, right? And now you've also heard it, different types of cloud, and different types of cloud is basically it can be broken down by in two different models, because you might heard the cloud types, but the cloud types has two type of models. One is the delivery model, how the service is provided, and other is the deployment model, how it is organized, right? So when it comes to delivery model, there are three basic types of delivery models, how the cloud services are delivered. Infrastructure as a service is basically you are hiring a cloud service provider to give you an infrastructure. That infrastructure includes the servers, services, network, and everything. And they're basically giving you a framework to deploy things the way you want. But that basically they are the data center owner, but they are hosting the infrastructure for you, right? So you don't need to be in the business of data center. You just need you pay them for the infrastructure, and you just get that. The platform as a service is another way of looking at it. They are giving more than infrastructure. They are also giving a platform to run your services on it. So they not only give you an infrastructure, they also give you a platform to run your applications, run your services on top of it. So that's kind of a platform of service. And I will give you more examples of these down the road. And third delivery type is the software as a service, which is a cloud, right? So basically where you don't care about infrastructure, you don't care about a platform, you don't even care about the type of application, you just use the application and pay for the application. So what are the examples? So software as a service, so you all might be using Gmail. So in Gmail is nothing but a software as a service. Google Drive is nothing but a software as a service. Google Docs is nothing but a software as a service, right? So that's basically where you don't care about where the server is, you don't care how it is, you don't care how the software is designed, you just care by using that software. And that's you want to make sure that software is always available. Platform as a service is something, it's an example for that would be kind of an you heard the word these days called Kubernetes and containers if you are in IT. That's where you have companies like Amazon or Google or Microsoft. They are providing you a platform to manage your container clusters. So you don't care about how the infrastructure it is. You don't care about even the Kubernetes service. You just care about using that service to deploy your containers. So that is a platform that is provided by them, and anything that is below the platform is their responsibility. Anything on the platform is your responsibility. Infrastructure as a service is basically AWS is giving you a hosted server in their data center where you just log in through their console, turn up, turn down any service you want, infrastructure service you want, and anything infrastructure or below is AWS's responsibility. Anything that runs on the infrastructure is your responsibility. So these are the three basic types of delivery models in the cloud. And for the deployment models, there are multiple ways to look at it. There are four basic deployment model. Public deployment model is basically the public cloud service providers like AWS, Amazon, GCP, Google, things like that, right? Where they are the public cloud providers, and you go consume the services from them. Now, there is another one called private, which are like large companies like my company Fidelity, right? They don't want to put everything into the public cloud because they have not yet got the confidence that public cloud is always secure. So they want to get the benefits of the cloud. So you create the cloud environment in your premises, in your network, and then that's basically you run entire cloud, but it's a separate business unit where you manage this cloud and whatnot. That's kind of private cloud because it's only meant for you. A hybrid cloud is basically, let's say you want to deploy your applications or services where you want to only expose certain elements on the public cloud, but leave the rest of the components on your internal cloud or your on-premises. That's the combination of partially public, partially private, and that's basically a hybrid cloud. Community cloud is a cloud like you share and developed by a community and used by a community. So uh, not very well-known examples out there that comes to mind right now, but financial services, for example, has created their own community cloud network to manage the global payments, right? Intra-company, intra-corporate global payment. And what they did with that is each company came together and funded, to create a community cloud, and each of the companies now are using it there. So it's kind of a exclusive club that become a member of that community, and you fund the community cloud, and it's only used by that community and not anybody else. So these are the high level different types of delivery models and deployment models. And as I mentioned, characteristics, if it is not um, meeting these characteristics, they are faking cloud, they are not actually a cloud. I will walk you through a small example. So it kind of walks you through what gives you a real life example. So let's say if this is a pizza example. um, uh, you are hungry and you want to eat pizza. You have so many options, right? You completely make at home, or you buy the dough from somewhere, and then make the pizza, or you buy everything and then make the pizza, or you just go to the restaurant, right? So on-prem is basically you make everything, including all the way. You make cheese, you make toppings, you make sauce, you make pizza dough. You own you have your own fire, you own oven, electricity, soda, everything. This is you. Oh, you have to pay for everything, right? Now, infrastructure as a service, in example of pizza, is you basically go get the cheese, toppings, tomato sauce, pizza from somebody else, and then bring it home and put it in your oven, and you pay for electricity, fire, soda, dining table, whatever, right? So this is a part, somebody else is providing partial, somebody else, and you are doing the rest. Now, let's say you don't even want to do anything, you just want to enjoy, less of the headache, and you just but still want the environment of home. In that case, you go get things delivered from at your home. So whoever is making the pizza owns how to get the cheese, toppings, so everything is their responsibility. They just deliver it, and you open the box, have a soda at your own dining table. But let's say you don't even want to do that. Who cleans the dining table? I don't want to clean it. Then you go to a software as a service model, where it's everything is somebody else's responsibility. Enjoying the pizza is your responsibility, right? So as you shift towards from on-prem to the SaaS, right, the responsibility from you're basically paying somebody for your responsibility is shifted to somebody, right? So as you see from on-prem to SaaS, the responsibility is shifting towards somebody, and hence you're paying for that service instead of you're paying everything by yourself. Hopefully this example helps you draw a better picture. And I had a very similar slide for instead of pizza, what it means in the computers, the same concept here, right? If you have your own servers in your own data centers and whatnot, right, you own everything. But if you have an infrastructure service like AWS, then anything in a orange here is AWS's responsibility, and anything in blue is your responsibility. Now, as you shift towards from IaaS to PaaS to SaaS, right, you can see that more and more is shifting towards somebody. And since you are shifting your responsibility to somebody, you pay for that responsibility being shifted. Um, I I would move on to just show a couple of the examples that which I touched upon it. These are the slides. I will also share it with the professor, so he can share it with you guys. These are the examples in the real world, right? What are the platform as a service? What are the infrastructure as a service? What are the different cloud softwares, and what are the different software as a service, right? This is just an example. I'm not going to judge. This is a little eye chart here, not too much to read, but just to see the examples I was talking about. IaaS, on-prem to IaaS to PaaS to SaaS, right? Where are different examples, and these are the real world examples that if you could look up once you have a time here, right? One of the interesting thing I really want to touch upon is, as I mentioned, as the responsibility shifts from you to somebody else, you're basically going to pay for that service because you don't want the headache. Let's say you are in the business of trading, right? The trading software, cash settlement, all those things are, you could do it everything at your home or on yourself and pay for a lot of employees or whatnot, or just shift it to somebody who is good at that and you focus on your own business. And that's typically the model, right? If you are in a business, do you want to do everything, or focus on the business that you are good at it and just pay for the service that you really don't want to invest into, or create more employees for your business, because that way you get more profits, right? As the responsibility shifts, you're paying for that service. And I want to give a real, this is the very good slide out of Amazon AWS, and reason I brought it here is to share this example, right? What I mean by that is the orange is basically somebody else's, you shifted somebody else to give a responsibility, and here you are the customer, which is in the blue, right? And as you see, the arrow is basically pointing from bottom to up. And AWS has a very good way of explaining this. What they are saying is security of the cloud is their responsibility, but security in the cloud is your responsibility. I want to take a quick 10 seconds here, and I want to reiterate this. Security of the cloud is the cloud service provider's problem. Like, for example, wherever the data center is, wherever the electricity is, make sure the network connectivity to the data center is, all that thing is not your problem, because that makes total cloud. So security of the cloud is the cloud service provider, but security in the cloud, what you use in the cloud, is your responsibility. So as I pointed out here, it's called shared responsibility model. So let's go back to an example. Let's say you're going to some event, and you want to park your car so that it's safe. So you find the nearest parking lot, a paid parking lot or whatever, right? Or a safe parking lot where you have to pay for it. So they will provide you a service saying, okay, sir, you can come and park your car. It will cost you 100 rupees per day or whatnot. Great. You are going to go and park your car over there. They will make sure your car is safe. So security of the parking lot, like nobody comes in their parking lot, or nobody is unauthorized person is allowed there or whatnot, is there. They will make sure your car is safe the way it is. Now, security of the car, of the parking lot, is their responsibility, but security in the car is still your responsibility. If you left your, let's say, pet in the car and something happens, it's your responsibility. It's not parking lot guy's responsibility. If you left, let's say, lots of money that anybody can see through the window in the car, and if somebody else comes into the parking lot to park the car and see it, and if they break in, it's your responsibility. Security in the car is your responsibility. Content in the car is your responsibility, because you only paid to make sure your car is safe on that parking lot. And that you could always back and forth go debate about this, because it's a shared responsibility and you paid somebody to make sure nobody breaks in, and they did make sure to by not breaking in, but it was somebody other customer who came on the same parking lot, and they were not there, and you exposed your data, or you exposed your car by inviting the hackers, right? Similar concept here. AWS provides the bare minimum cloud, and the service is the way you use. So security of the data in the cloud is your responsibility. So security in the cloud will shift towards you. Security of the cloud is purely a cloud service provider responsibility. I want to shift, since we touch about the security here, what are the top domains of cloud security? And these are the group of the different areas, but the top domains in the of the cloud security is, I will jump from all over the place here. I'm not going to go in each section. I will go in each section, but I'm not going to go in order. So disaster recovery and planning. So let's say if you consume a cloud service, but if you're not configuring the cloud service to make sure that cloud service is available in all the regions, then if there is an event in the one region, let's say earthquake happened and one of the AWS data center gone, right? Then it's still your responsibility, because AWS provides you to leverage multi-region option, but you chose not to use it. So this, if you did not configure when you are deploying your application or a system, by taking advantage of disaster recovery option, then it's your responsibility. AWS always provided the service, but using that service is your responsibility. And you always want to make sure, let's say there is an earthquake happen and you use the AWS services, AWS data center only out of Mumbai region, and there is also an option to use or have a co-location multi-region deployment, and you want to also, they gave an option to use Chennai as well, but you choose only to leverage Mumbai. Now if the earthquake happens in Mumbai or flood happens in Mumbai, and if that data center goes completely goes off, and that will bring your application down. Now, that's not AWS's responsibility. That's your responsibility, because AWS also provided an option to use Chennai. You chose not to. Governance is another security domain you want to make sure. When you go to, if you are a business and you are moving your applications to the cloud, you gotta have a strategy. It's not something, okay, let's just go to the cloud, right? Let's take an example. If you want to go from here to, let's say, moon, you gotta have a strategy. You just don't sit on the motorbike and say, okay, let's go to moon, right? You plan it. You create the rocket that can go all the way to the moon. You have to make sure it has, astronauts are trained. You have to make sure, once they go land on the moon, right? What is the plan? You're just not going there and say, okay, let's chill out, right? That's not the goal here. So similar concept. You gotta have some kind of a governance and risk management mindset before you go to the cloud, right? Because cloud is basically somebody else's computer, somebody else's data center. You are running your services. So when you are running your services on somebody's computer, on somebody's data center, to making sure that your application, the data, everything to be secure or planned to be secure is part of the governance. That's your responsibility. Compliance. Let's say you launch an application, is very successful in India, and now you want to go all the way in entire world, global, right? Great. It's a great business model, great thought, but each country has their own regulations. Each industry has their own standards. And if you are not compliant with, let's say you're taking your application from India to, let's say, to US, and if you're not compliant with US laws, your application will be shut down. will not be allowed in United States. If your application is not compliant in EU, European Union, it will be shut down. So when this is another domain, right? You cannot scale. I mean, cloud provides you an opportunity to scale, but you have to scale it in the context to meet the law. Otherwise, your application, your business will be shut down in that area. Um, Prime example is I it's not a great example, but there's something to think about is Zoom, right? The day it's nothing about compliance. They are compliant by every country's law, but there is other compliance that could come up at the last minute or after the services. Let's say India comes and say nobody use Zoom in India all of the sudden. Like for example, China is saying nobody uses Facebook in China, it's not allowed. Nobody uses Twitter in China. They have their own versions of Facebook and Twitter. Even though Facebook and Twitter and those companies are compliant by China's law, China still made up some new laws to make sure their own businesses get advantage over Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. So things can happen after the fact as well. India comes up and say nobody use Zoom tomorrow. You better be compliant that day, otherwise Zoom will be shut down in India. So compliance is another part of the security domain, right? It's kind of an availability risk, right? Your business needs to scale in the area you want to scale. um, Availability, right? Now you deploy the services in the cloud, but you forgot to make sure that software, that cloud services that you consume, you forgot to configure to make it available in all the region, right? Let's say you only deployed in Mumbai, but your users in let's say United States. User in United States using this service in Mumbai region means you made things available, but it's not good enough for user to use it because there is a latency now, right? But if you make it available by deploying into multiple region, including United States, then United States users by default will be accessing the servers that are in United States, and it will be fast. You also want to make sure that services are configured to take the advantage of identity and access management. You don't want anybody to come and stop and start your service. You don't want anybody to come and see what's in the service, right? That needs to be only for authorized personnel. You want to make sure when you deploy a cloud services, you want to make sure, first of all, there is a least privilege principle. You apply the least privilege. By default, you get the minimum access, and based on your business need, you get the more access, but you don't just randomly give everybody an admin access. Like no different than your personal home computer, right? There's an administrator and there are the regular users. By default, if you make everybody an administrator, your computer will be anybody on that computer can install anything, and anybody can bring any malwares on your computer, and your computer will be pretty much not good to use. Data security. One of the beauty of the cloud security is you can embed the security all the way to the data element. If you have gone through the TCP/IP model, if not, right, please, I would highly recommend everybody to go learn the TCP/IP basics, because if you know the 7 layers of TCP/IP, now you can get everything in the computer, because at that point you know all the layers of the data packets, and it's not that hard. Beauty of the cloud services is cloud services allows you to embed the security all the way to the data layer. That was not possible until the cloud services came up. And cloud services has allowed us to, you could make the entire services available, but not data available to anybody, or to only the few people, right? And that is the beauty of it. Now security is layered all the way to the data. And that is something you really want to make sure when you are deploying your cloud services. These are the 6 major security domains that if you configure it correctly, you are going to get the best out of your cloud services. If not, somewhere you will have a headache. I will move on to just share what are the threats. This is something like a defense side of the world, right? To make sure your cloud is defended from the attacks. So what are the attacks? So attacks are the for the cloud security, the attacks are these, right? Data breaches. Every day you hear in the news that certain company has lost certain data or whatnot, and it's why is because they are misconfiguring. Back to our defense side, right? If they misconfigure things, you will have data breaches. These are the top security issues. Misconfiguration, you it's like you're leveraging the cloud service, but you don't know how to configure correctly, and if you don't know how to configure correctly, you will have a problem. Change control. So this is like, you want to make sure only authorized people are allowed to make changes on your cloud account. If you don't have proper control to make sure that only authorized people are allowed to make changes, you will have somebody who does not know how to operate the cloud account will shut down services in the middle of when your users needs the most. Lack of security architecture and strategy. This is all without strategy. If you plan to go to the moon, then you're never going to end up there. You will end up somewhere else. And that is basically a same example here, right? If you don't have a security mindset before you start adopting the cloud architecture, that means you are learning while and exposing your business at the same time, and you will have a problem, because that's where you will have misconfigurations or or a large bill from cloud service provider because you kept using the service without knowing when not to use it. Inadequate identity and access management, again, least privilege principle. You always want to make sure the by default person gets the only base minimum privilege, base minimum access, and based on the business need they get the more and more access. Abuse of cloud services. This is again, if you left your cloud services to, let's say, to for your business use, but did not patch the cloud services to the latest vulnerability patches and whatnot, somebody can attack your cloud services and use it for their advantage. You hear a lot of one of the biggest things that happens into the cloud services is either ransomware or a crypto mining. If you do not patch your cloud service, somebody will take over somehow, if not account the service itself, and run the crypto mining, and you will be paying that bill, and somebody will walk away with the crypto. Account hijacking, this is another way of looking at it. Let's say if you did not properly had control the multi-factor authentication on your cloud account itself, somebody will take over the account, you will be paying the bill, that person is managing your account, and you don't know what is being used for at that point. And you could also get into trouble because let's say somebody is running some illegal activity on your cloud account. Since it's your account, you could go to jail. Insider threats, this is becoming a bigger and bigger issue these days. We always thought, or we had this mindset that my business will attacked by others from outside, but as you don't know who is already inside, who is your already an enemy. So you also want to watch, even though you trust the people you hired, you still want to watch them. Are they only performing the approved activities, or they are just randomly going wherever? By not managing the insider threat, you will have a problem no matter what, because someday somebody's intention is going to be different than what your original thought is. Insecure interfaces and API. Every cloud services are exposed through some kind of interface or API, application programming interface. And what happens with this is those interfaces, like think about this way, you have a house, and entry to your house is through the door or through the windows, right? That's how you get into the house. Typically nobody goes through the windows, but that's the way of getting it, right? Your doors and windows are your interface to get into the house. If you do not properly secure your door, then anybody can get in. That's the same principle here. If you do not secure your interfaces to the cloud correct properly, somebody will abuse it. Weak control plane is another security threat, is because what is happening is once you are once you logged into through the cloud account, let's say on the interface side, and there is no issues there, but from that control plane, if you did not manage the configuration properly to make sure only administrators can make changes, if you did not lock it down, this can actually also connect back to the identity and access management. But if your control plane is not controlled, right? So imagine like an airplane, right? If the pilot cockpit is not secured, then any passenger can go in, and we all know 9/11 in US happened. That's where, because the cockpit and the passenger that was not properly controlled, right? So because that is to control the plane itself, cockpit is important, and you want to make sure the control area of that entire cloud is secure. Limited observability, visibility. This is basically once you spin up the cloud services, you want to make sure what are you spinning up and how are you using it. By not having the by not having an observability or a visibility, what will happen is you will end up with either with a large bill or some kind of an compliance nightmare, or somebody will use for illegal purpose, and you will not know what's going on in your cloud account. Immature CSP, like when you are putting your business, like as we were shifting from on-prem to SaaS, right? The responsibility was shifting to you. But imagine like you are half the way, where IS or PaaS, you're expecting the cloud service provider to own their part of responsibility. Imagine that cloud service provider is new in the business and but giving you a very cheap service, and you like, because it's cheap. But do you know that cloud service provider is mature enough to hold their end of the bargain? If they are not keeping their responsibilities, you still will have a problem, because your business will suffer, right? End of the day, you will cut the relationship with them, but your account or your business users are impacted. And that's where you have to make sure, as part of the strategy, you are going to some mature cloud service providers, not just anybody. um, I think I ran the clock here, but I would say, guys, thank you very much for listening. I am open to any questions, comments, or feedback. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Yes, question from student side.
Hello, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, sir, I have one question. Like, I am using EC2 instance one time,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have go to vulnerability testing, and over there, I have find there is a one high level error. Like it is rating from 1 to 10 out of 10. It was 9 score error was there. It was showing that EC2 CLI was not updated. So if anyone is going to hack from the AWS CLI, so it is a responsibility of mine, or it will be going charged to AWS.
Very good question. So I would answer this question whether the CLI itself have a vulnerability, or through the CLI you uh, can uh, somebody can attack your EC2. It depends
So
on that.
from okay, okay. So sir, if somebody is going attack through CLI,
Mhm.
if as you have told through the CLI, so if somebody will going to attack you, then what to do, sir? Like it is our responsibility or AWS responsibility?
So in this case, they are leveraging. So think about this way, right? In this case, they are using CLI as a weapon, but the target is your service. So in that case, the vulnerability is in the service or the deployment of your service. And The deployment or configuration of the service is the customer's responsibility. CLI is just a weapon, right? Because they are using the CLI to attack you. So CLI is not, if I mean, in this particular example, it is your responsibility.
Okay, sir, but I have not configured CLI, so I think that should be taken by AWS because I have just taken the EC2 instance. I have not does not do anything. So in case I was a confusion, so I have asked you. So thank you, sir, for a response and reply. And one more question, sir. Like
Mhm.
if we are going to hire a cloud engineer without experience, with hands-on experience,
Mhm.
so what parameters are you going to look in that student or in that student, sir?
So if I'm hiring somebody without hands-on skills, I will not make that person. I will not make that person administrator on day one. I will give that person an access to, let's say, development account, but not production account. So that person has an opportunity to learn, opportunity to get hands-on skills. And once the person is mature enough to leverage or gain the hands-on skills, I will gradually give that person more and more responsibility with the production workload. So this way I get to train the person. At the same time, I'm not taking too much risk on my production account.
Okay, sir. Thank you for the answer. Thank you.
I mean, I want to ask, like, what kind of qualities or things you want to like to see in the CV to hire the fresher?
I generally look for adaptability and curiosity. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, CP, the world is shifted towards knowledge economy. How quickly? Because few years ago there was no cloud services, and now between Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, 60% of the services is between them, right? So and 60% of the services in infrastructure. So how quickly you can learn is more important to me than what you already have. The chances are that what you already know is a great thing to start, but I generally look for, are you adaptable to learn things quickly? Are you open to always learn? If that is not there, then I would probably not go towards the hiring decision on that direction. it I come across a lot of freshers as well as experienced people, and generally speaking, people want to just show me what they have, but when I change the questions to like what they are learning, and if I don't hear it, I typically don't hire them.
Great. Looking into the Indian perspective, right? Like US is very open-minded, bit less competitions, and maybe you are having the time to train the people after joining. So you are going to see the basic attributes about employee. But if you have any idea about if any student want to do work in India, uh,
Mhm.
what should they learn during their engineering course, with course or without course in any certification, so that they can get into this field?
Sure. So as world is shifting towards data driven architectures, everything is data driven architecture these days, right? Think about this way: any business that needs to sustain in the marketplace, India or outside, doesn't matter, data is the king, data is the new oil. What does that mean? So for that, you want to make sure you have enough hands-on skills or a knowledge to play with the large scale data, because your cell phone on average throwing lots of data back to their cell phone providers, and when cell phone providers is collecting the data, they are making future business decisions based on that. Same thing for retail, same thing for anything, right? Healthcare, everything. So anything you can focus towards data analytics, and on the scripting side, because you, in order to perform large scale data analytics, don't build your career based on tools, build your career based on platforms, or beyond tools, right? So For example, if you want to perform data analytics, you can use R or Power BI or Tableau. There are so many tools. But if you say, I'm going to be a Tableau expert only, and what if, then ask yourself a question, what if Tableau in the competition loses? You will lose, right? But if you have a skill that doesn't matter, irrespective of Tableau or Power BI or R or whatever, Panda in Python or whatever, right? If you build the vendor independent or tool independent skill, you will be on the demand side of the world, not the supply side of the world. So back to the question on the certification and whatnot, try to go towards a hands-on skill, which is Python and data analytics side of the world, that like scripting and data analytics. And for good certifications on cybersecurity side and cloud services, because AWS Solution Architect Associate is a good place to start on cloud side. And once you have 2-3 years of experience, CISSP is a very good cybersecurity certification, and it gives you a broad knowledge and that you could apply to any industry, not just like financial, healthcare, retail, right? You could apply anywhere. So CISSP, like 2 years after your career starts, but hands-on skill followed by the AWS or Microsoft any cloud services certificate, and then become a vendor independent certificate, which is CISSP. That is general advice that I give anybody who wants to build their career into the cyber and cloud.
That's very helpful advice. Before I ask next question, I would like to ask any student have any question.
Hello, sir.
Yep.
Sir, is it okay to if we start with a cloud practitioner certificate as a student? Because there is more fee in solutions architect for giving the exam, so it probably would be preferable that a practitioner would be preferable as a student for a fresher. Right?
So he is trying to negotiate what is best.
No, I agree. If you want to build the base first, either cloud foundations through practitioner exams or whatnot, it's great. I would put it this way: don't stop there. Cloud practitioner is only going to give you a basic overview of different services in the AWS world, but how those services is being used is where the associate certificate will help you, right? So if you are facing an interview and where they will ask you how would you do this, so practitioner certificate will not help you there. You will need more than practitioner knowledge there. So I would say, but at the same time, I don't want to discourage you, right? Practitioner is a good place to start, but don't stop there.
Yes, sir, sure.
Yep.
Yeah, one question is there in chat box, if you can see.
Let me check. Yes, OSCP, Offensive Security, is another very good certificate. This is a hands-on hands-on cybersecurity kind of thing. I would say this is a very good certificate. It will require a lot of hands-on experience yourself. This certificate has a lot of value, and this certificate goes towards pure cybersecurity. So if you want to build your career on the cybersecurity side, absolutely, OSCP is a very good one.
Yeah, one question is there, any tip to prevent ransomware or any tool or trick?
Any tool or trick? Yeah, always back up your data. Always make sure, and these days, chances of you getting an attack by ransomware is mostly because you have unpatched vulnerabilities or unpatched services. Most of the ransomware attack happened in last 5 years is only because people are not patching their services or using the end of life software. So one way to avoid ransomware attack is to make sure you are using vendor supported services or a software, and always patching it. But that doesn't guarantee you that you will not have an attack. That just basically means you're gonna less likely get it attacked. And any trick is like, end of the day, ransomware is holding your data hostage, right? So if you don't want to pay for a ransomware, always make sure your data is backed up. And if you get attacked by ransomware, you just reset the computer with a new build, and you are good to go.
Thank you for that. Any other questions, students?
Yes, sir. I would like
Sir,
to ask.
Yes, Kishore.
Yeah. Sir, as cloud is a very new technology and it's changing rapidly from the last few decades, and it can be affected from many components. Like other technology can affect very quickly. Like we are moving from 3G to 4G and 4G to 5G. So many rapid changes coming to the cloud. So irrespective of the technology, there are as a student, I always ask myself that how can I be so flexible to browse towards the new technology. So what kind of characteristic as a student I should develop in myself that I can be ready for any kind of changes?
That's a very good question, Kishan. My general response to this, you're correct, right? Things are changing so fast and furious. One human being cannot keep up, right? I cannot keep up. I know. I will tell you, I don't have knowledge in everything. But generally speaking, focus your careers to build like T-shaped career, right? What do I mean by T-shaped career is you build verticals before you build horizontal, right? So if you see the T, right, you build your vertical and then broad. So you deepen first, right? You deepen your skills in certain area, not everything. Don't try to build everything because you're not going to keep up with it. So let's say whatever is your passion and interest, deepen your skills into that area. And once you are comfortable with that depth, right, start broadening. That's where you will be more on the demand side, right? And one of the things that I would add on top of it is don't only build your career on the hard skills, right? The deep technology skills is considered hard skills, but also there is also things called soft skills, right? We are all humans at somewhere around 40s, late 40s, early 50s. Human logic, this is biology. Human logical thinking will stagnate, and you will not be able to compete with the young, fresh people with new logical mindset. At that point, you will want to rely on more of your soft skills, because you cannot keep up with the hard skills who is coming right out of college. You guys are much more probably knowledgeable than certain things that I even don't know. I will tell you honestly, that is the case here. But at that point in your career, you will be able to rely on more of the soft skills as well. So chart out your goals that you want to deepen in certain area, broaden at some point, and then build the soft skills on top of it. I hope I answered your question, Kishan.
Yes, sir, definitely.
There is one question in chat box.
How to
How
start
to start
preparing?
preparing about OSCP? So do OSCP certificate, then CH is prerequisite or not?
I honestly don't know. I do not think for CEH is a prerequisite, because CEH is EC Council and OSCP is not EC Council as far as I know. So they are two different organizations. So I do not think it's a prerequisite for each other. OSCP is obviously a harder exam as far as I know. CEH is also a hard exam, but it's compared to CEH, OSCP is a little harder.
Now, one question I would like to ask before student ask next question. See, as a teacher perspective or a mentor perspective, when students have electives and they reach to some higher semesters, they used to select the subject based on top priority. If I don't know coding, then I have to go this. If I don't know, then I have to go this. So they start thinking about their comfort zone. And I wish they should take the decision based on what the future is. So what do you see about the future of cloud computing? And is it right thing that students are not comfortable in programming, then they should go to cloud, because that is general mindset here. If they are good in coding, they should go to software. Otherwise, they should choose some other field like this.
I will say this, that I also had gone through this, but my life lesson tells me I started with chemical engineering, ended up with the cybersecurity. But what allowed me to do this is my curiosity and my challenging myself, right? One thing I think I started with a little bit early is, right, do I want to be a part of the supply or do I want to be a part of the demand, right? If you are going to stay in your comfort zone, right, you will be in a part of the supply, and value for you will be less. Value for your skills will be less. If you are, doesn't matter you are going into coding now or 5 years from now, scripting, data analytics, even today, healthcare. Here, I know one of my friend's daughter, she is going to the medical school, and you might say, medical school does not need to know any kind of coding or programming. Like, she is learning Python, guys, because medical is also now requiring data analytics on the real time to make the medical decisions. And if you want to be part of the top doctor, for example, that added net new skills is going to differentiate you. So what I would say is, if you stay in comfort zone, end of the day, only person who is paying for it is you. And end of the day, you will be part of the supply side, not the demand side. And you can run from it, but cannot run away from it. So embrace the challenge, go for the challenge. You are too young to not take the risk. If you don't take the risk now, you will run out of time where taking the risk is probably not an opportunity. When you grow in your career, you have family, and at that point, you're just not going to be able to take the risk. Take the risk now. It's okay to fail now because you have time to recover. If you don't take risk now, you will not have time to recover once you take the risk later in the life.
Thank you very much for this answer. My questions are over. Any student have any question? You
Sir,
may
I have a
ask about
question.
lifestyle also of USA as well.
Yep.
So my question is that, like you mentioned that at the building the career in the form of a T shape, and once once the 40s and all, people right now, what I see that the people who are speaking about or mentioning that the data analytics is it's an opportunity, it's a career, that is going to be required in each and every domain, that will be supporting each and every domain. So the thing is that because like you just gave an example of that your friend's daughter who is studying medical, so we see that a baseline is that the person is studying medical, and on top of that layer they are studying something that relates them to data analytics. But when I was in the third semester, currently I'm in the seventh semester. So when I was in the third semester, the scenarios and the things that I keep reading it was like directly pinpointing, and there was just like a lot of talking and sharing of data analysis. But now is this case scenario that each and every person will know a bit part of it. Like they will include studying that portion or embracing those skills, because it will be required in each and every field and it will help them, right? But the thing is, it keeps on it's like we feel at some point of time that it is extended version of keeping people. I mean, it's hypothetically increasing the advantages. Like we are talking about a lot of advantages, but the actual practicality behind that scenario. So my question directly is that how do we practice something? Like even there was a talk about this ransomware that, like, here Chirag asked that the tool or trick. So my question directly is like, what do we have in the hands that we can practice, or like, now apps are the common things. Children, like, even 5 years, 7 years, they'll just download apps, play games. So that becomes so usual. So how do we practice those or inculcate in ourselves those basic practices which can help us in such career options?
Yes, so to get your hands-on skills, right? So leverage the options that are given from the companies like Google, right? Google has they always have this the free and open challenges for all the students in the entire world. That they will give you and challenges that you, and they will give you huge sets of data to work with. Now, some of these things, I agree that you don't get a chance to work on it until the corporate you get into the corporate or business worlds or whatnot. And hence, companies like Google or world cons universities and things like that, they have opened up the area for anybody to expose themselves to the challenges of the corporate world, right? Or challenges of business world. So leverage those as an option to learn. um, I remember I think Google TensorFlow has an option to perform the large set of data analytics and learn TensorFlow for data analytics, the cloud data analytics, I would say, for free. Right now, all you have to do it is sign up for it and do it. So some of these things, explore those opportunities. I believe I have some. I have a list of all these resources where I send my fresh employees to go learn on their own, and I can share with the professor that as well, right? How do you go get your hands dirty, right? Get your hands-on skills without signing up for expensive services.
That will be a good. I hope we will use that resources. These students are very much self-motivated and hardworking than we do in our time.
Yeah,
So we'll use that resources as well.
sure.
Any other question? We are about to wind up. If anybody else, just be quick, or we are going to finish because he might be getting late for his job.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Hitesh, once again to join with us. And in our ICT, we are having various specialization domain. We encourage students based on the semester 4 up to 1 to 4. They can choose their field of interest and they can learn some more subjects like flexible system, choice-based flexible system. And I have seen a few students are right now doing well in this AWS and other. They are earning good certificates, so they are learning. So within 1 or 2 years, I think we will be having one good strength of students. Those are exploring this field, right? So we'll keep continue to connect with you, and we'll take your experience benefit to our student.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Thank you. You guys are awesome. I mean, at this early in your academics career, as well as investing beyond academics is a great thing you guys are doing. So continue that. This is what is the competitive advantage you will have, right? It's when you come out of college, generally speaking, what we look for is beyond your academics, what did you do? So when you come up with this additional certificates and whatnot, that will put you on top of it, right? So continue that. You guys doing awesome. Continue to that. That will separate you from the crowd.
Thank you. Thank you, Hitesh. Thank you all.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, and thanks for giving me a time in front of you. Thanks again. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.